Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dal. Over the next few weeks, our characters are about to get much stronger, unlocking our tier set bonuses as well as double legendaries. The second legendary effect will come first from a belt slot, which will give us access to our Covenant legendary effect for free. This means that your primary legendary choice needs to be the strongest and the one that synergizes the best with both the tier set bonuses and the various Covenant legendary effects. So in this video, we're gonna go over some of the best, most recommended, and the most synergetic primary legendaries that you can start working on right now in order to have them ready before we receive our powerful bonuses over the next few weeks in patch 9.2. However, this is just a recommendations list, so if you want to be adventurous and try different bonuses, feel free to craft whatever legendary you want to try. This is just a list of recommendations of what potentially could be good. This list could also change quite drastically based on how Blizzard tunes our classes over the next few weeks as we head into Sepulchre of the First Ones and the Season 3 for Mythic Plus and PvP. But right before we get into the list, most of you guys watching this videos are still not subscribed, and if you're watching this video anyway, you might as well subscribe as well as hit the bell, especially if you want to see more content like this, as well as content for patch 9.2, guides, updates, and potentially future WoW expansion announcements. Starting with the Death Knight, the Blood DK isn't giving up super strain anytime soon, especially when their focus is doing as much damage as possible. Although for Mythic Plus content, the Crimson Rune weapon amazingly synergizes into their tier set bonus. Definitely a legendary worth crafting for the future potential defensive and offensive bonuses. As for the Frost Death Knight and the Unholy Death Knight, nothing really changes, with Frost likely playing Koltira's Frozen Rage or Biting Cold, with Unholy likely sticking to Frenzied Monstrosity and Deadliest Coil. For Frost Death Knights, Unholy, and Blood DKs, the second choice of their Covenant legendaries are mostly passive and don't really come with too many gameplay additions, at least as of right now, unless we see some future tuning. For the class of Demon Hunter, those playing Havoc might want to consider crafting Dark Glare's Boon, which is likely to be an insanely powerful legendary together with the Venthyr Covenant and Agony's Gaze Venthyr legendary effect for a perma-dot, perma-demon form playstyle. The high uptime on I-Beam will allow you to stay inside of Metamorphosis, which empowers the damage output of your Blade Dance and Chaos Strike, together with the tier set augmenting the damage even further. With the tier set also offering a shorter cooldown of Metamorphosis, it gives you almost 100% uptime on Metamorphosis as long as you're able to hit your target. As long as this doesn't receive any nerfs in the future, and as long as your tank doesn't move the mobs too much, this could actually be pretty good in Mythic Plus as well. For Vengeance, the Dark Glare could somewhat work because of the tier set synergy, where your 4-piece tier set bonus can reduce the cooldown of Fell Devastation. However, you're still likely to stick with Fiery Soul for the defensive aspects, or potentially Resurrex for that Carrion synergy going forward into patch 9.2. For balanced druids, the Arcanic Pulsar looks like the most exciting synergy since it plays so well with your 2-piece bonus, which does proc anytime you enter Incarnation or Celestial alignment, and the obvious damage value increase from the 4-piece set bonus as well as the resource spending is also pretty good. Even though Feral tier set got nerfed, the Frenzy Band legendary will likely synergize the best for it for the more uptime on Berserk, for even more cooldown reduction with the tier set, and more uses of that tier set bleed bonus. Although with the Feral nerfs, you should always have a fallback plan, and it is recommended to craft Apex and the Drought legendary just in case. For Guardian Druid, Ursock's Fury is still an insanely strong legendary for both the offensive benefits but also the defensive. However, it is possible, as you pick up your tier set bonus, that Legacy of the Sleeper will become far stronger, especially when you're looking for extra damage and threat generation value for content like Mythic Plus. Rested Druid will likely stay unchanged, mostly playing Vision of Unending Growth for raiding, Verdant for healing in M+, and Draught of Deep Focus for damage hybrid in M+. For Hunters, the Beast Mastery is likely to stay with the Rylak Stalker's Piercing Fangs. It's a very effective legendary for more pet damage, but it's gonna be rather bland unless we see more legendary tuning for Beast Mastery in 9.2. Marksmanship, however, is getting a mix-up with the Unblinking Vigil legendary. This Lego provides bonuses every time you get Trick Shots effect, which you gain normally when you cleave multiple targets or AoE with multi-shot. And because your tier set gives you trick shots on the regular, this legendary has a natural synergy that will function in all situations, single target as well as AoE. For survival hunters, their tier set will play excellently with the Wildfire Cluster for its synergy around Wildfire Bomb damage as well as Wildfire Bomb resets, which, just like Beast Mastery, it's a very strong option, even though, unless we get further tuning, will likely lack variety. For mages, the Arcane Spec tier set doesn't really shake up the gameplay too much, and you're likely to play Arcane Harmony Legendary with the Kyrian Covenant, since the Kyrian Legendary is looking to massively improve in the patch 9.2. Fire mages also don't need to change much, still playing with the Sun King's Blessing, but now even more so since their tier set is very much focused around combustion-based gameplay and resource acquisition inside of those combustion-based windows. Frostmage tier set is also quite plain, providing you free procs of damage and a free damage debuff. Frost will likely stick with Slick Ice for raiding and Freezing Winds for M+. For monks, starting with the Brewmaster, the Storm Stout's Last Keg has obvious synergy with its tier set, which allows your Keg Smash to now not only grant more damage, but now better survivability by granting you more healing as well as more health to take on a bunch of damage. Primarily good at taking hits from magic spells and abilities, because monks can stagger a lot of the physical damage, but stagger is far less effective against spells, curses, and other magical effects. So the Keg Smash legendary ends up becoming a fantastic source of damage output, while also an excellent tool for survival, which ends up making it far stronger and more recommended for patch 9.2. The Mistweaver tier set is very passive. It's quite strong in its 4-piece, but nothing gameplay changing. Monks as of right now are expected to be playing the Venthyr legendary together with the Ancient Teachings legendary for a very passive group-wide healing. The same thing for the Windwalker monk, even though I am quite interested in the 4-piece part of the tier set and how that will synergize into their interesting and unique mastery gameplay. However, it is recommended for them right now to stick with Invoker's Delight going forward as the most versatile option for the patch 9.2. When it comes to Paladin, Holy will likely stick with Marauds for healing and raids, and Mad Paragon for damage, likely in Mythic Pluses. Protection is likely to use Mad Paragon in single target or raid encounters, while playing with the Bulwark of Righteous Fury for Mythic Plus content. And Retribution will either play Final Verdict for single target or Tempest of the Lightbringer for AoE. For all three specs of Paladin, it does seem like their tier sets are quite strong at times, but it doesn't seem like there's any specific legendary interaction that they might end up playing into. When it comes to Priest, Discipline might actually switch things up a bit with the Penitent legendary. Together with the crit benefits of the Venthyr Covenant Lego, you might create an interesting bonus with your tier set for even more big burst damage that you can control the procs of every single time. This could give you a lot of burst damage in single target, together with the Atonement mechanic healing your party or raid, and be able to do all of that damage all on the move with how Penance functions. And it looks like from recommendations, Holy Priest are permanently stuck with Flash Concentration, unless we see some interesting class tuning for the spec of Holy Priest in order to get them to play more legendary variety for the next update. The spec of Shadow Priest is likely to fall back on the Shadowflame Prism legendary, which will allow them a triple pet build, likely playing with the Mindbender and the Shadowflame Prism to buff the Mindbender's damage, as well as the Necrolord legendary for the Mages of the Dead, and summoning their own shadow from their tier set. A lot of these pets are going to help contribute towards that priesty damage. Rogues got some very exciting updates, starting with Assassination. They're likely to delve into the Dustwalker's Patch legendary, which gives them far more uptime and resets on the ability of Vendetta. Created for a very fast playstyle with their tier set that buffs the value of Vendetta, this Lego is likely to generate incredible value, as you get to sink more Vendettas inside of a raid fight or Mythic Pluses for overall far more damage. The spec of Outlaw is really out of the box. You'll become a sub-rogue in a way, vanishing from sight and empowering yourself with the invigorating Shadow Dust legendary. Even though at a first glance, most best legendaries increase your character's damage output, which this legendary doesn't. That cooldown reduction will be massive, especially added on with the baked-in cooldown reduction elements of the spec. Whenever you spend combo points into finishers as an Outlaw rogue, a variety of your abilities have their cooldowns reduced heavily. Vanish being one of those abilities that gains benefits of this cooldown reduction will mean you'll get a lot of uses out of this legendary effect. Together with their tier set that generates free combo points as well as free finishers, this is going to give you even more cooldown reduction heading to the next update. And even subtlety is likely to mix things up a bit, mostly playing with Akari's soul fragments for the raiding. Due to the Shadow Strike tier set synergy as well as Conduit synergy, Akari's actually works really well for those extra Shadow Strikes that can proc other effects. Otherwise, you'll most likely play Finality for Mythic Pluses for the raw damage output in 9.2. When it comes to Shamans, Elemental is likely to stay with the Windspeaker's Lava and Echoes of Great Sundering legendaries, despite the Elemental synergies that you have with your tier set. There is always potential that in the future Blizzard does enough tuning or somebody figures out an amazing build where these synergies can work together. But for now, it is recommended to stick to what worked in the past. Enhancement has the option of either playing the Wolfbone's legendary build for a big dog raiding, or Primal Lava Actuators for a funnel Necrolord build. Although there are very likely to be even more synergies for enhancement in particular, a lot of their spec-specific legendaries are actually quite powerful and all of them could be good in the future. Restoration Shaman is still likely to stick with the Primal Tide core for raiding, and likely Deep Tremor for the damage in Mythic Pluses together with the Kyrian Covenant for even more group damage. For Warlocks, Affliction might actually break out of its shell. Right now, Malefic Wrath together with the Necrolord legendary might be a very strong synergy, together with their tier set that also focuses on quite a bit of that Shadowbolt or Drain Soul interaction. Besides that, in Mythic Pluses, they're likely to resort to Wrath of Consumption for Mythic Plus content with the Night Fae Covenant. For Demonology, your Demonic Tyrant is still a huge portion of your damage and gameplay, so you're likely to stay with the Wilfred's legendary for pure single target, though with the amount of demonic dogs that you can summon with Called Dreadstalkers giving you an extra hound. The Grim Inquisitor's legendary could create some big AoE value. For Destruction, you're likely to focus on the raw Chaos Bolt damage with the Madness of Aj Akir, but in Mythic Pluses, you're likely to rain even more Infernos on your target with the Wilfred's legendary, especially if as a Warlock you embrace the Rain of Fire build. And unless that build sees nerfs going forward, it's likely to be really strong and in some cases overpowering in the patch 9.2 Season 3. For the class of Warrior, not much is changing. Arms is likely to stay with the Enduring Blow legendary, especially since their tier set will even better synergize into the bonus Colossus Smash effects that you get from Enduring Blow. And you're likely to still play Tormented Kings for AoE focus in Mythic Plus content. For Fury Warrior, Deathmaker still seems to be your best single target option. Even though your tier set is really cool and synergetic with talents, there isn't really a legendary that makes it that much stronger. And you also are, like Arms Warrior, likely to play the Signet of Tormented Kings in Mythic Plus as well. For Protection, for both Raiding and M+, you're likely to play Reprisal. Again, another spec where you have a really strong tier set, but no real legendaries that could easily synergize into more of that gameplay. And Reprisal is likely to be your best mix of damage and self-survivability going forward for 9.2. And this is going to be the full list of legendaries you should probably craft before you get your tier sets and double legendary interaction enabled for the patch 9.2. But don't feel pressured to only craft these legendaries. Tuning may change what your best legendary may be, and feel free to experiment with different playstyles and legendaries going forward. But otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching the video. I do hope you guys enjoyed. If you think I missed certain legendary interactions that are likely to be good, let me know that in the comments below. Also in the comments, let me know which class do you hope gets some legendary retuning. You might have noticed quite a lot of classes are still sticking to the same legendaries they've played all of Shadowlands. So let me know which class you're hoping gets some legendary balancing and tuning for the sake of having more variety of things to play with in the patch 9.2. As always, if you guys enjoyed this video or found it informative, go ahead and give it a thumbs up. I would very much appreciate it. And as always, in the description, we have a link to our community channel Discord. If you guys want to reach out to me directly, let me know what you think about this video or hang out with the other members of the community. Join our Discord to join our YouTube community. Thank you all so much for watching. I do hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And as always, I'll see all of you guys in another one.